Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. And good, interesting topic today. Let's do it. What was the glass shattering moment that you realized something about yourself, and what did you do about it? Please remember to like, share, hype, and subscribe.
Trigger warning. Viewers' discretion is advised. I was being a douche on the school bus in the 4th grade and kept kicking the seat of the kid in front of me. Did it once super hard. I'm sure it hurt. He turned around so fast I couldn't even say anything and punched me in the face. I realized I was a little prick and became a little less prick-like that day. Shout out to Andy. Had a random blood test in the ER and my glucose was 296. Never had a symptom of T2 diabetes. Started the day by reducing carbs and sugar in my diet and exercising. 8 months later, down 100 blood sugar, A1C is 5.1 and no meds. A random trip to the ER saved me. Happened years ago. It was a very slow burn and took years coming. But the thing that made me finally snap and leave the Mormon church into which I'd been born was so random. It happened at my child's first birthday party. It was midsummer, and we were having cake outside in the backyard of my then mother-in-law's house. All morning, I'd been stressing and running around prepping, decor, presents, food enough for the extended family, who lived locally, 35 people. It was 90 degrees Fahrenheit in the shade. I was wearing cotton poly garments beneath knee-length shorts and a sleeved shirt, absolutely miserable, and sweating my ass off. The world was spinning. I tried, but I could barely enjoy the party I'd worked so hard on. At one point I had this moment of perfect clarity, where all the many, many years of putting my doubts on a shelf came crashing down. Why was I wearing these garments? Why was I doing any of it? Who was I flagellating myself for, and at what cost? Why should I end up exactly like the countless relatives I'd seen waste away over time, beaten into a corner, intensely anxious, identity chipped away to nothing, dreams crushed, admitting to never being truly happy or at peace, strangled by guilt and fear, all to fit into a role and a really made up by narcissistic, misogynistic pedos in the 1830s. None of that was me. None of it had ever fit me. I could no longer reconcile my brain or intuition with the theater around me. I knew I would never be happy, never be the parent or partner I wanted to be if I kept lying to myself. I took the garments off, left the church, and never looked back. Best decision for my family and my mental health. It was hard as I lost people. At first it was lonely and scary, but oh, was it worth it? I was probably bordering on thinking like an incel until I read an essay about nice guys on a website called Heartless Bitches International. It really made me think about some of the ways that I looked at dating and relationships. It made me step away from trying to date for a while. I still have self-confidence issues. Sometimes, but I don't feel the desperation and need to please others that I used to have. I like how much of a weirdo I am, and it would be nice to find someone that likes me too, but I'm not going to base my self-confidence on it anymore. I was living in another city, depressed, in a shaky long-distance relationship with my girlfriend. I was supposed to be looking for a job to help me move back home, but due to my issues, the work search was profoundly stressful. Like every step was like coals stressful, so it moved at a glacial pace. Well, once I said, I am looking for a job to my girlfriend, and she said, no you're not. That simple phrase slapped me across the face. I got so horribly sad I stopped feeling stress from the job search. It became too insignificant. That's when I really started looking and finding. My girlfriend then sent me a vacancy in a company that essentially is like the best place to start your career in my field. I got hired, moved back home, kick-started my career, that's still going well, and went on to marry my girlfriend. Sometimes you just need a slap in the face, it seems. Brief backstory. Caregiver for family, mother until she died, uncle for the last 5 years, 17 years total, didn't look after myself, didn't much care. Carrying my uncle's remains up my steps, my left knee buckled. I did some soul searching and recognized a few facts. I was too fat, too stupid, and destined to die within 5 years if I didn't start getting myself into better shape. I could still move, so I should, while I still can. Switched from regular sodas to diet and discovered, no lie, Diet Dr. Pepper is actually better than regular Dr. Pepper and is the reigning king of diet soda. Started being more cautious about what I ate, being more mindful of caloric intake, and being more mindful of ways I could move more without too much hassle. It never made sense to me to pay a kid to mow my lawn and then pay to go walk on a treadmill, that sort of thing. About 10 pounds down per month since October 2021. I currently weigh in at 194. Been slipping a bit this month, only down 7. I'm going to keep an eye out for complacency. Tried to KMS and saw my usually very stoic father hysterically crying. This hit so hard. I'm not allowing myself harmful thoughts now, even at my lowest points. It doesn't matter that I don't love myself. Other people do, and I care about them.
I know at times it may feel like there really is nothing that you could think about wanting to live for if you're ever in a real low place. But I can't guarantee it for everyone, but I can almost assure it that that choice will affect people that you care about for a lot longer than it'll affect you. So sometimes it really isn't about you. So to have that realization through your father's eyes is, it's a very nice sentiment, and I hope that you're doing better now. So all the best.
When my best friend of 20 years, the closest thing to a brother, ended our friendship and said I was a toxic person, I had to do some serious reflection and started noticing a lot of toxic traits that I had, mostly that stemmed from years of ignored and repressed depression. I started seeing someone and got on some good medication. I'm still learning how to do things right 8 years later. However, my life has changed very much for the better. It took me around 27 years to realize I blamed everything and everyone else for my problems. I can't remember the specific moment, but it was like my brain suddenly clicked, and I stopped blaming everyone and started blaming myself for my shitty life, mental state, and attitude. I stopped having panic attacks, and my mental health got so much better because I actually started doing things instead of blaming others for not doing things. People just don't want to be true to themselves and their emotions. If more people would start looking at the source, they would be so much happier. 4 years ago, I was horribly mistreated by people in positions of power at my job. It led to severe depression and even suicidal ideation. I still had to stay there until I was forced out of my yearly contract on purpose. I was devastated. I was still willing to work there, even with the abuse, because the work I do is meaningful and impactful to so many. After my contract ended, I found another position in a safer and closer to home location, doing even more meaningful work. I found my voice and my confidence after that experience and finally began to stand up for myself. It was 30 years old and had let myself be pushed around professionally for most of my career. Not anymore. I matter. I do good work. I deserve to be treated properly and appropriately by my peers and superiors. I know my worth and it shows. I've always been excellent at my job, but now I can shine. It's been life-changing and so fulfilling. So clinically, I have major depressive disorder, diagnosed around 13. My depression bouts can sometimes last me for more than a year plus, and it's absolutely agonizing trying to pull myself out of it. As an adult, it affected my vices, my grades in college, my relationships, and what felt like everything else in my life. The world was numb to me, and I felt like I had no choice but to be the NPC the world needed just to sit there and exist for no reason. So fast forward to 2020. My godmother took her life at 4 a.m. on New Year's Day. Absolutely earth-shattering and unbelievable. The menial work that I took for granted and the stupid school that I just so happened to go to all stopped by the time her celebration of life came around. There was, however, one thing that happened in between my godmother taking her life and the memorial that came after. I had a mushroom trip. My two best friends and I went to Laguna Beach in California on a Wednesday evening and just went wild on some funky fungi. That whole night plays in memory on repeat. The visuals, the warm air, the unconditional love I felt for myself. I woke up the next morning just different. I felt love for myself, and I haven't felt that before. I went home and cried for my godmother because I felt what she was feeling. I cried because I didn't realize how close I was to doing the same. Ever since that night, I've changed almost everything about my outlook on life because I realized I was worth something, and there is a life worth living for. I still deal with depression, but now I go outside and thank God for this world I live for. I love the grass. I love that I gained a little weight. I'm making music, and I live life on life's terms, taking it day by day and cherishing the sweet air I never knew existed. I was in a religion class for Catholicism. We had confession with the priest when we were young. He asked if we go to church every Sunday. I said, well, most. And he said there is no excuse not to be in church every Sunday. At the time, we used to go camping with our horses and go trail riding frequently over the weekends and didn't come back until midday on Sundays and would miss church. He told me that we had to stop, and that was not an excuse to not be in church. At that moment, I was like, I thought Jesus or God was with us all day, every day, for us to lean on and talk to, but suddenly if I don't sit in a pew on Sunday, my faith or religion means nothing? That led to a slippery slope of seeing what a joke organized religion is, and I haven't been in a church in over a decade. I've had chronic headaches for years, and it was getting worse to the point it was difficult to go to school and keep up. Then I dropped out and tried to just work, but I was in such severe pain I couldn't keep up. All of a sudden, one day as I felt my head pulsating and I wanted to throw up from the pain and my eyes weren't working right, I was like, I don't want to keep being in pain all the time. I had seen a doctor a few years ago that told me it was stress, and to see a therapist and just switch between Tylenol and Motrin, which didn't help at all and made me feel like doctors aren't helpful. But then I finally saw a different doctor and asked to be referred to a neurologist, and the neurologist is actually helpful, and after some tests, it turns out I have idiopathic intracranial hypertension, and that's why my head hurts all the time, because the spinal fluid pressure in my head is too high, and it's also why my eyes don't work quite right. Now I'm on medication, which is helping, and I'm in less pain. Almost 3 years ago, I recognized that my continued presence in the home of my ex wasn't helping either of us, hurting her, hurting our daughter, hurting her other kids, hurting her extended family, so I left. I didn't have a backup plan or support network and ended up living out of my car, couch surfing, and even camping in the woods at one point over the course of about 6 months before I found a room I could afford to rent. I did a lot of soul searching in that time and realized I'm an introvert, but I have extrovert phases, a sort of cycle, and when I'm in one of those extrovert phases, I'm confident, charming, and funny, and it misleads people into thinking that's the way I am all the time. And since that's the phase I'm in when I'm out and about and likely to meet people, that's what people think I am. When I get out of that phase and turn into this moody, selfish, irascible, miserable asshole, that's what destroys each of my 3 long-term relationships I've had over the past 19 years since graduating high school. I'm told this is textbook bipolar disorder, but I haven't got the resources to see a shrink to get properly diagnosed or medicated, and because of that, I've essentially decided to be single and celibate for the rest of my life. I was on the evening of the second day of partying, alcohol, amphetamines, MDMA, the whole gang. I had danced all night and smoked all day and was finally hitting the point where your brain can't store new information anymore and your eyes start glitching. And then out of nowhere it hit me. I'd been mentally unwell my entire life. The gifted but troubled child with official diagnoses and too many meds. I got SA'd and R'd, had a bunch of trauma from all kinds of sources, and tried to be a good person but usually ended up the asshole. I never got it and always felt the cards were rigged against me, and it was that frustration that got me where I was that night. But in that moment, like a brick to the face, I suddenly, unexpectedly realized all the ways I had been a major asshole to the people around me, and saw through all the convenient lies I told myself, and all the easy solutions and manipulations I had considered unchangeable parts of me. I saw myself in a light that had never been turned on before. No longer just the victim, but also a perpetrator. And especially the perpetrator against the most important person in my life, me. That experience shook me. I had a minor nervous breakdown that night and it felt as if my whole identity had shattered. Without friends by my side who watched over me, I might have done something stupid. Well, that was 2.5 years ago, and I've never been the same. Every area of my life is different now, because every day I wake up a different person, with a perspective that shows me all the things I couldn't see before. I started taking responsibility, facing challenges I formerly evaded, and became a somewhat rigid but honest and stable person. And I finally started to love myself. That night was a horror, but somehow the experience gave me the strength I needed to change. I'm clean now, have a job, and my life in order, and am very well these days. Don't do drugs, kids, but if you do, know when to stop. Back in the mid-2010s, I met this girl online and we really hit it off. I ended up moving up here to Michigan in 2016 to be closer to her, and a couple of quite emotionally fraught years later, she dumped me in 2018. It shattered me, and that was the closest I'd ever come to suicide. All my life I'd felt like something was wrong with me, but I didn't know what. And after that breakup, I just zombied around town. The only thing in my head, a reverberating echo of, what the f*** is wrong with me? I planned it out and everything. I would buy a rope at the local hardware store, then hang myself from the bridge downtown. It was in the dead of a Michigan winter, so I didn't have to worry about being disfigured by insects. I ended up going to therapy and doing EMDR and discovered that I am riddled with PTSD from childhood abuse and my deployment to Afghanistan, and I have a Superman complex seeded by my stepdad dying in 1995 and leaving me to be the man of the house, and the consequent burning down of our house in 2003 that I could not prevent. And B, I am transgender, and my lifelong depression and self-loathing are actually my dysphoria eating me alive. Turns out you can't have a romantic relationship with a straight woman if you yourself are a straight woman. I worked on my issues and began transitioning, and today I am the happiest and most emotionally healthy and emotionally intelligent I've ever been. I don't have to save everybody, just myself is enough. I was high AF and thinking about life and what the point is. Basically, I thought about how the earth is going to be destroyed in billions of years, so how people see me or judge me doesn't really matter. We exist in not even a blink of an eye in time's eyes, so I should really not care if certain people like me or not. It also helps me let go of stress from work and to not hold on to the commentary of rude customers. What they say doesn't matter. In a few billion years, no one will be around to get mad at one another anyway, so why hold on to all the negativity of the world? I've gone through life accepting that I'm very average and not really memorable. I'm good at some stuff, but I'm not great at anything. I like my job, I did fine at school, etc., but now I'm not like, wow. Then I had a baby. I pushed a baby out completely unmedicated. Honestly, it was really hard. We had complications, but I still made it through and got her out safely. I also successfully breastfed after many, many hardships. I've never seen myself as someone with strong willpower, but doing that I feel like Superwoman. My baby is 11 and a half months old now and I'm flourishing. It's hard work, but I love being a mother. I finally found something that I'm really good at. It's changed me. I'm a very confident and calm person now. I was at a session with my psychologist. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but suddenly I froze because I realized that whatever issue I talked about, be it my love life, my mental health, fears, or whatever, it always circled back to my parents. My dad never really cared. He was always more of a friend than a father. On the other hand, my mom was so controlling due to her own issues that she turned into an exact opposite of what my father was, an over-controlling parent. The only thing they have always had in common is that they've always loved my sister more than they did me. And that was another brick covered in lemon juice thrown through my window. Because my parents treated me like shit, I became jealous of what my sister was. She was the perfect child, had perfect grades, many friends, and everything she wanted. I just wanted my parents to like me so much, when in reality, I was the exact opposite of my sister. I was bitter and jealous of her, and I knew that only on a subconscious level. Even though I loved my sister, I hate her at the same time. But she's not responsible for how our parents treated us. Once I learned to accept the fact that my divorced parents are just plain dog shit parents, I learned to move on. I woke up on the floor one night in my room after yet another day of getting drunk. My mother messaged me about bringing me food from Thanksgiving. I couldn't drive at the time due to vehicle problems. When she got out of the car, I saw her gray hair and realized I hadn't seen her in over a year, and that her hair was in fact gray. After that, I removed myself from my alcoholism by going back to work on fishing boats out of Alaska. I haven't had a drink since January 4th of this year. It's been rough, but I've started school this semester. Nothing crazy, but it beats using alcohol to numb my depression and other issues. Oh man, this is embarrassing and deeply petty compared to some other stuff in here, but well into college I had a nasty case of what I can only describe as upper middle class white girl with loving parents syndrome, really. The world has always treated me like I both deserved and needed all possible help and humoring. I fundamentally didn't get that sometimes things are hard, stressful, painful, and you have to suck it up and no one has to help you. And people caring if you're distressed is a very nice thing to be grateful for when it happens, not an assumed fact of life. The cause was the dumbest thing, but a yellow jacket flew into my dorm kitchen and I caught myself turning to the other person in the room to deal with it, just treating it as an axiomatic that I wouldn't or couldn't. For whatever reason, it suddenly clicked that 1, it wasn't going to hurt him any less to get stung, so why should he have to do it? And 2, if I did get stung, oh well, I'd live. I did get stung, and I did live. I realized I'd been so whiny. Everyone must have wanted to beat my ass for years, and I made a real effort to knock it off. I got more willing to put my head down and pull through things and take some hits. I'm thankful I learned that lesson in a very gentle, non-life-ruining way, and in time to break out of that conditioned sense of helplessness and get much more out of life than I would have if I still unknowingly thought of myself as made of glass. My husband, sister, and I were discussing a familial physical traits. She mentioned how I have shark eyes and how no matter where I go, I'm always watched or stared at. I brushed it off at first, attributing to the way I walk. It commands attention, even though I am shy and just want to blend in. But when she mentioned that my eyes were very dark and piercing and nearly intimidating, I realized that it was true. I can rarely get anyone to look into my eyes ever, and when they do, it's for a very short split second. It made me pause. I think I'm scary, and I'm honestly okay with that, because I'm a little woman, but it really broke my view of myself. It didn't diminish my view, just changed it.